"He's just a pushover," my wife said to her family as she took my savings. "He won't do anything," they agreed. I didn't say a word, just smiled and walked away. 5 days later, she regretted it. Here I am, Mark, 38 years old, standing in my kitchen, spatula in hand, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. My life, until this moment, had been a series of predictable, comfortable routines. Dependable, that's what they called me, maybe too dependable. I met Sarah in college, where I was all about numbers and business strategies, while she painted her dreams onto canvases, envisioning a gallery of her own. We fell in love amidst the chaos of youth, and somehow we made it work. 10 years of marriage, a cozy 2-story home in a suburb where the leaves now whispered secrets of autumn. Our home was always filled with laughter, especially when Sarah's family came over. Emily, her sister with her sharp wit, and Linda, her mother with her endless stories. They were part of our life, our extended family. But today, something felt off. It was a Sunday brunch, the kind where the aroma of pancakes and bacon should fill the air with warmth. I was in the kitchen, the heart of our home, when their voices drifted through the clinking of cutlery from the living room. "He's just a pushover," Sarah's voice cut through the usual chatter, her tone dismissive, almost cold. "He won't do anything," her family agreed, their laughter echoing, not with joy, but with a hint of something else, something I couldn't quite place. I stood there, the spatula now feeling like a foreign object in my grip, as a cold realization washed over me. What was Sarah planning? Why did she think I wouldn't react? My mind raced back to the times when I'd let things slide, when I'd chosen peace over confrontation. Was this what they saw? A man too easygoing to stand up for himself? The laughter continued, but now it sounded hollow, like the echo of a truth I'd been avoiding. I thought about our life together, the gallery she never opened, the dreams deferred, the compromises made. Was I just a part of her plan? A convenient piece in her puzzle? I took a deep breath, the scent of cooking food now mingling with the bitter taste of betrayal. I knew then, standing in that kitchen, that something had to change. I wasn't just going to be the dependable Mark anymore, not if it meant being taken for granted, not if it meant being the butt of their jokes. I placed the spatula down, my resolve hardening. The conversation in the living room continued, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. I needed to find out what Sarah was planning, and more importantly, I needed to decide what I was going to do about it. The leaves outside fell, silently, but inside, a different kind of fall was beginning. The fall of illusions, the fall of complacency, and I, Mark, dependable Mark, was about to step into a new chapter of my life, one where I would no longer be the pushover they thought I was. The words stung, but I kept my composure, serving brunch, with a smile, my mind racing. After the meal, I excused myself, claiming a headache, and retreated to our bedroom. There, I found my savings account statement on the dresser, a place I hadn't checked in weeks. The balance was significantly lower than I remembered. A quick call to the bank confirmed my worst fears. Sarah had withdrawn a large sum. I sat on the edge of the bed, the room spinning slightly. I thought back to our early days, how we'd saved every penny for our future. When did our dreams start to diverge? I remembered the gallery she wanted to open, the one we'd talked about but never seemed to get around to. Was this her way of taking control, or was there something more sinister at play? The silence of the room was deafening, broken only by the soft hum of the ceiling fan. I felt a mix of betrayal and confusion. Why did Sarah feel the need to take my savings, and what was she going to do with it? My thoughts drifted to the times when we were inseparable, planning our life together with such enthusiasm. We had talked about traveling, about starting a family, about her art becoming our legacy. But lately, those conversations had dwindled, replaced by her increasing secrecy and my growing sense of isolation. I stood up, pacing the room, trying to piece together the puzzle. Had she found someone else? Was she planning to leave? Or was this about her art? Her dreams that she felt I had somehow hindered? The more I thought, the more the room seemed to close in on me. I remembered the last time we had a real conversation about her gallery. She had been so passionate, her eyes lighting up with every word. But then life got in the way, bills, work, the mundane reality that seemed to suffocate her dreams. I walked over to the window, looking out at the autumn leaves, now a stark contrast to the turmoil inside. Was I just a part of her plan? A stepping stone to something else? The thought was like a cold wind cutting through me. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I decided to confront her, but not in anger. I would be calm, collected, the dependable Mark they all knew, but with a resolve they hadn't seen before. I left the bedroom, my steps firm, heading back to where the laughter had now turned to murmurs. The air felt different, charged with the electricity of impending confrontation. As I entered the living room, the conversation halted. Sarah looked up, her expression a mix of surprise and something else, perhaps guilt. I took a deep breath, the scent of coffee now replaced by the scent of confrontation. "Sarah," I began, my voice steady, "we need to talk. Now." The next morning, I decided to confront Sarah. She was in the kitchen, sipping coffee, her demeanor calm as if nothing had happened. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of fear. "I took the money for the gallery," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought, if I could just get it started, you'd see it was worth it." The words hit me like a physical blow. But it wasn't just about the gallery. Sarah had been meeting with an old college friend, Tom, who had promised to help her with the business. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. She had not only taken my savings, but had also been planning this behind my back, with another man involved. Was Sarah's betrayal just about the money, or was there more to her relationship with Tom? I felt the room shrink around me, the walls closing in as if they too were in on the secret. "Tom?" I managed to say, my voice cracking under the weight of my emotions. "What does he have to do with this?" Sarah's gaze dropped to her coffee cup, her fingers tracing the rim nervously. "He's been helping me with the business plan, Mark. He believes in my vision, in what I can do with the gallery." "And you couldn't tell me?" My voice rose, not in anger, but in a desperate plea for understanding. "We've been together for 10 years, Sarah. 10 years, and you go behind my back?" Her eyes lifted, meeting mine with a mix of defiance and guilt. "You were always so focused on stability, on numbers. I needed someone who understood the passion, the risk. Tom does." The mention of passion stung, a sharp reminder of the distance that had grown between us, not just in our dreams, but in our hearts. "So, this is about more than just business, isn't it?" I asked, the question hanging in the air like a heavy fog. Sarah hesitated, her lips parting as if to speak, then closing again. The silence was telling. "It's complicated, Mark. I didn't mean for it to happen, but what?" I cut her off, my patience fraying at the edges. "You've been planning this, meeting him, all while I thought we were still on the same page. What else have you been hiding?" She stood up, her chair scraping against the floor, the sound echoing the fracture in our relationship. "I didn't want to hurt you, Mark. I thought if I could make the gallery work, you'd see it was all for us, for our future." "Our future?" I echoed, the words tasting bitter. "Or yours with Tom." Sarah's face flushed, a mix of anger and regret. "It's not like that. Yes, we've grown close, but it's about the gallery, about making something of myself, something I've always wanted." I took a step back, the betrayal now palpable, a living, breathing entity in the room with us. "And what about us, Sarah? What about the life we built together? Was that just a stepping stone for you?" She reached out, her hand hovering in the space between us, a bridge she was too afraid to cross. "I still love you, Mark, but I need to do this. For me." The room felt colder, the warmth of our shared history dissipating like morning mist. "And what about the money, Sarah? That was our savings, our future. How could you?" Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. I was going to pay it back, Mark. I swear. Once the gallery started making money. Once the gallery started. Making money, I repeated, the irony not lost on me. And what if it doesn't? What then? She had no answer, just the quiet sound of her breathing, a testament to the depth of her plan and the shallowness of our current connection. I turned away, the weight of the betrayal pressing down on me. I need some time, Sarah, to think. I left the house, needing space to think. Over the next few days, I stayed at a hotel, reflecting on our life together. Sarah called incessantly, her messages shifting from apologetic to desperate. I ignored them, focusing on what I wanted for my future. The hotel room was a sanctuary, a place where I could dissect the past 10 years. I thought about the laughter, the shared dreams, the compromises. But now, all I could see was the deception, the secret meetings with Tom, the money taken without a word. On the 5th day, I returned home. The house was eerily quiet, the air thick with tension. Sarah was there, her eyes red from crying, her posture defeated. "I'm sorry, Mark," she said, her voice breaking. "I realized what I've done, what I've lost." Her words hung in the air, heavy with regret. I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing not just the woman I married, but the artist who once had fire in her eyes, now dimmed by her choices. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she continued, her voice a whisper. "I thought if I could just get the gallery off the ground, everything would fall into place. But I was wrong. So wrong." I felt the weight of her words, the sincerity in her tears. But the trust was shattered, like a canvas torn beyond repair. "Sarah," I started, my voice calm but firm, "you took our savings. You planned with another man behind my back. How can I trust you again?" She stepped closer, her hand reaching out, but stopping midair as if afraid to touch me. "I know I've broken something precious, Mark, but I still love you. I want to fix this, if you'll let me." The room seemed to shrink around us, the walls echoing with the ghosts of our past. I remembered the times we talked about her gallery, the excitement in her voice, the plans we made together. Now those plans felt like a distant dream, tainted by betrayal. "I need to know everything, Sarah," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Every meeting, every plan, every moment with Tom, I need to understand." She nodded, her face a mask of sorrow. "I'll tell you everything. I owe you that much." We sat down, the distance between us palpable. She began to recount her meetings with Tom, how they started discussing the gallery, how one thing led to another. Each word was like a brushstroke on a canvas, painting a picture I didn't want to see but needed to understand. As she spoke, I realized how deeply she had been drawn into this venture, how the passion for her art had clouded her judgment. But it wasn't just about the gallery. It was about her feeling trapped, feeling like her dreams were slipping away. And in her desperation, she had made choices that broke us. "I thought I was doing it for us," she said, her voice cracking. "But I see now, I was doing it for me, at the cost of us." The silence that followed was thick, filled with the weight of our shared history and the uncertainty of our future. I looked at her, seeing the woman I loved, but also the stranger she had become. "Sarah, I need time," I finally said, standing up. "Time to think about what this means for us, for our marriage." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand, Mark. I'll wait. I'll do anything to make this right." I walked to the door, each step heavy with the burden of decision. The future was uncertain, a canvas yet to be painted. Could I forgive her? Could we rebuild what was broken? Or was this the end of our marriage? As I stepped outside, the cool autumn air hit me, a stark contrast to the warmth of the home I was leaving behind. The leaves crunched under my feet, a reminder of the passage of time, of change. I knew then, as I walked away, that the next steps would define not just our relationship, but the very essence of who I was, who we were together. I sat down across from her, the silence between us heavy. "I've been thinking," I began, my voice calm, "about us, about what we've built, and what we've lost." Sarah looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. "I've decided to give you a chance," I said, and her face lit up. "But not for us, for the gallery." The words hung in the air, a stark contrast to the warmth of the room. I explained that I would invest in her dream, but our marriage was over. The gallery would be her new beginning, without me. Sarah's expression crumbled. She had expected forgiveness, not this. "But I love you," she pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. "I know," I replied, my heart heavy, "but love isn't enough when trust is broken." The room seemed to shrink around us, the walls closing in with the weight of our shared history. Sarah's eyes searched mine, looking for a sign of the man she married, the dependable Mark who would always find a way to make things work. But that man was gone, replaced by someone who had seen too much, felt too much betrayal. "I thought if I could just make the gallery work, you'd see it was all for us," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the ticking of the clock on the mantelpiece. "It was never just about the gallery, Sarah," I countered, my tone firm. "It was about you and Tom, about the secrets, the lies. You took our savings, our future, and you did it behind my back." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I was desperate, Mark. I felt trapped, like my dreams were slipping away. I didn't think you'd understand." "And now?" I asked, the question hanging between us like a heavy fog. "Now I see what I've lost," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I see that I've hurt you, that I've broken us. I didn't mean for it to go this far." The sincerity in her tears was palpable, but the trust was shattered, like a canvas torn beyond repair. "Sarah, I need time," I said, standing up, feeling the weight of every word. "Time to think about what this means for us, for our marriage." She reached out, her hand hovering in the space between us, a bridge she was too afraid to cross. "I'll wait, Mark. I'll do anything to make this right." I walked to the door, each step heavy with the burden of decision. The future was uncertain, a canvas yet to be painted. Could I forgive her? Could we rebuild what was broken? Or was this the end of our marriage? As I stepped outside, the cool autumn air hit me, a stark contrast to the warmth of the home I was leaving behind. The leaves crunched under my feet, a reminder of the passage of time, of change. I knew then, as I walked away, that the next steps would define not just our relationship, but the very essence of who I was, who we were together. What would Sarah do now that her plan had backfired? Would she find solace in her art, or would the gallery become a monument to what we once had? And me, Mark, dependable Mark, what would I do with this newfound resolve? The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. The old Mark was gone, and in his place stood a man ready to face whatever came next, with or without Sarah. In the weeks that followed, Sarah opened her gallery with the money she had taken. It was a success, but it was clear she was alone in her venture. I watched from a distance, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. Our divorce was amicable, with the gallery as her sole asset. I moved into a new apartment, starting anew. Friends asked if I missed her, if I regretted my decision. No, I would say. I stopped being enough for her when she stopped seeing me as her partner, but I found enough in myself to move on. The gallery thrived, but Sarah often looked lost amidst the art, perhaps realizing that some dreams come at too high a cost. She had everything she wanted, yet there was a void in her eyes, a longing for something more than just the accolades and the sales. I saw her sometimes standing alone in the gallery, her gaze lingering on the paintings, as if searching for answers within the brushstrokes. I had my own journey to navigate. My new apartment was stark, empty, a canvas waiting for my own life to be painted upon it. I filled it with books, music, and the quiet company of my thoughts. I started to reconnect with parts of myself I had neglected, exploring hobbies and interests that had been sidelined during our marriage. There was a freedom in this solitude, a chance to rediscover who I was without the shadow of betrayal. Friends would occasionally update me on Sarah's progress, They mentioned how she was often seen with Tom, the man who had been part of her secret plans. Their relationship had evolved, but it was clear it wasn't the same fire that had once burned between us. It was more like a partnership of convenience, perhaps a mutual understanding of shared ambition rather than deep love. I found myself thinking about her less and less. The pain of betrayal had dulled into a distant ache, a reminder of what was, but not a defining part of who I was becoming. I started to date again, cautiously at first, wary of opening up after such a profound betrayal. But with time, I met someone who appreciated the depth of my character, someone who saw the strength in my dependability rather than a weakness. One evening, as I walked past Sarah's gallery, I saw her through the window, her face illuminated by the soft lights of the art pieces. She looked up, our eyes met briefly, and there was a flicker of recognition, of shared history. But I kept walking, the autumn leaves crunching under my feet, a symbol of the change that had taken place in both our lives. Would Sarah ever find what she truly sought, or was her journey just beginning? That question lingered in the air, as open-ended as the future itself. For me, the journey was clear. I was moving forward, not just surviving, but thriving in my newfound independence. The gallery, once a symbol of our broken dreams, now stood as a testament to our separate paths. And as for me, Mark, dependable Mark, I was learning that dependability was not about being taken for granted, but about being true to oneself, about finding strength in solitude, and about the courage to start over, even when the canvas of life seemed dauntingly blank. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.